show for all your latest UFC news and rumors. It's Brian Coyle. It's Sean Stanley. It's the TFM Live podcast. And it's now.
And good morning. It's a different day, but it's the same great podcast brought to you by the FullMountMMA.com. I'm Sean Stanley, and as always, I'm joined by Brian Coyle. Brian, how you doing this morning?
It's a little earlier for me than usual, but I'm still here to talk about the same great mixed martial arts stuff, and I have to give you credit again. I really should stop picking fights at this point because, man, I'm just cursing like every single fighter.
Is it you're cursing, or are they just? I mean, for the first time in a while, I would say that we have champions in the UFC where anything can happen.
I think we can just throw out the fact that we analyze these fights out the window when Tyron Woodley just throws a bomb with his right hand to Robbie Lawler and ends the fight.
Yeah. No, I mean,
sure.
That's the thing. It's that one punch. That's what makes it hard to pick, honestly. And what makes it easier for me is like when you go pick one way and then I can just easily pick the other. And luckily for me, it's been going my way.
Yeah, from now on, you're gonna make the first pick.
Oh, you picked out my that's
strategy.
My strategy for the main event. I always pick first on the co, but I make you pick first on the main.
Yes, but of course we're talking about UFC 201 that happened last Saturday. Robbie Lawler and Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley's your new welterweight champion of the world because he threw a right hand that was so stiff. Lawler just dropped in a heartbeat in round one. And now we have a guy when we talked about this fight, we thought if Lawler can make it a war, he can kind of drag Woodley out because he's such a big welterweight. And then now you got rocked in the face and you're done. It's amazing how, I don't want to say fluky, but how unpredictable and chaotic just because of this sport, just one little thing. And it's all this work and all this time that you put in. It's just, bam, sorry, you're knocked out. Woodley's the champ, and we've got a whole new situation at welterweight that we need to talk about because the linear number one contender may not be the linear number one contender in this division anymore, Sean.
No, I agree. I mean, you heard it after the fight with what you're speaking of with Woodley. You know, he's like, hey, I'm looking to get paid.
I wonder who's the cause for that kind of issue in the UFC right now.
Hey, you build your own beast, though, right? I mean,
completely.
That's kind of what they've allowed to happen. Like, the rankings really mean not much. That just means, hey, you're one of the better fighters in the division, but doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the fight.
Yeah, I mean, when you have the random journalists that somehow rank these fighters, when Jose Aldo lost, he was still ranked ahead of Conor McGregor on multiple Brazilian cards. It's hard to take the ranking seriously. And apparently Tyron Woodley doesn't take the ranking seriously because following the knockout of Robbie Lawler in the main event of UFC 201, Woodley was asked by assumed number one contender Stephen Wonderboy Thompson on Fox Sports 1 after the fight if he would accept a title shot from Wonderboy. And Woodley basically said, nah, dude, I want money. I want to fight George St-Pierre or Nick Diaz.
Yeah, basically, Wonderboy, you're not going to give me the money I want.
No, you're not a big enough draw, so screw you. I'm going home, and then I'm going to fight GSP, which apparently has a lot more legs to it than I thought originally when that happened. Because early Monday morning, Ariel Helwani of MMAfighting.com reported that George St-Pierre is interested in his return fight of the promotion to the UFC being Woodley, which has UFC 205 at MSG written all over it. It seems like at this point. He said, quote, yes, he was interested in a fight against Woodley, and yes, he wants to fight against Woodley. So Wonderboy has to go to the back of the line again. That's what I'm reading.
I just think that's hilarious though, because it's one of those things where when you looked at I guess I could say I kind of joked around that Henderson would get the next shot if Bisping won the belt.
You joked and it happened.
And it has happened. And now you sit here and you see the title change hands now again, and you're seeing like a George St-Pierre come back into the picture. This is the chaos that's created when you have the champions that they have right now. It's just it's one of those things to where, as we say, I mean, look, there's a reason, Anderson was a champion for so long. There's a reason Aldo was a champion for so long. Like, with Lawler, you knew that, look, he's going to stand and take punches. So all it's going to take is somebody to knock him out, and he's probably going to lose the belt. And just when you have these kind of champions, you can see that it's just people just jump into the picture. Now it's names mean more than what you're really doing in the fights, because again, it's going to draw. If George St-Pierre gets a title fight, it's going to draw.
For sure, absolutely. I mean, am I more psyched as a cat? Like if a casual MMA fan hears that Tyron Woodley and Stephen Thompson are fighting at Madison Square Garden in UFC 205, it's like, oh, that's cool. Who are those guys? If you hear that George St-Pierre is fighting, oh yeah, I've heard of him before. That's the difference. Like, as much as we love both of those fighters, me and you, the casual audience that the new owners of the UFC that are going to want, it's going to be GSP. And it's been created, this money fight mantra all stems back to Conor McGregor, who we'll see in a couple weeks against Nate Diaz at UFC 202. Guys want the money fights because that's just the way the sport is kind of focused right now. The Reebok deal screwed a lot of people when it came to sponsorship money.
Oh no, lots of people.
I mean, it's kind of created this culture where you need to make the money first before you do these linear title shots. And that's why Woodley wants a Nick Diaz, who, despite the fact that he has a stream of consciousness and has weird interviews, like, Diaz is one of the most, like, can generate the most buzz about him because he just has that something. Him and his brother, George St-Pierre, Conor McGregor, all these guys can just create the buzz around them to make them worth watching from a fight. Like, I don't know how well UFC 201 did from a pay-per-view standpoint, but probably not as well because you're not looking at a card that had major names on it. It was an awesome fight card. So you have to kind of figure out what you want to do with these money fights. And, I mean, when in doubt, if Wonderboy really wants to get mad, just blame Reebok. I mean, that will make him feel better at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to blame somebody, right? I think he took a shot, or somebody, I saw a report the other day that Cormier and Cruz kind of inked him on to call out out Woodley there. And then now, to me, if I'm Thompson, I would start the whole thing like, oh, he's ducking me. He's scared of me. I would just, why not? What do you got to lose? You're not getting to the next fight.
How'd that work out for Frankie Edgar?
It doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, it didn't work out good, but at the same time, you got to do something because that's only going to help you kind of get your name out there. You've got to do something. You can't just sit there and be like, okay, I'll just wait, because you're going to be waiting forever.
Yeah.
You got to go out there and create some kind of buzz now. And what is that buzz? I don't know. I mean, look, you got to do something. I mean, because, look, you've created buzz inside the octagon, but you have nothing on the outside of the octagon that warrants you to be able. You're getting jumped by guys that haven't fought in years.
Yeah, it's crazy because if you showed a casual fan a fight of Wonderboy Thompson to be like, oh, that's like a dude fighting martial arts in a movie in real life, and people should be excited about Wonderboy. It's just he needs to kind of like, and you mentioned like the other co-host. By the way, like everybody on FS1 is now a champion.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of random, but besides the point,
is it really random?
I don't. Yeah, I mean,
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No conspiracy theories here. I'm just kidding.
With UFC tonight's ratings, yes, it's really random. But it's one of those things where you have to kind of like Wonderboy like was being egged on by his coach to do it, but like. You're exactly right. You need to, because that's how people care about. Like you have to either be this silent assassin that kind of GSP was all the way up to his career, but he had a personality about him that people kind of gravitated towards.
He had that arrogant kind of.
Yeah.
Like not really arrogant, but it came off as arrogant. So
yes,
because
accidentally
he
arrogant.
was so good, and same with Silva, I think too.
Mm-hmm. And Silva just got cocky and arrogant.
Yeah,
he started
thinking that he was. I mean, he started living into that, and then got caught. I mean,
Uh-huh.
And that kind of started the steamrolling, right? Of these one punch and you're new champion.
So blame Chris Weidman for where we are today. And,
in the UFC.
In the UFC.
Yeah.
I mean,
all goes back to that Weidman guy.
Yeah. And he was a guy who was supposed to get the title shot after he lost, and then Bisping comes in, knocks out Rockhold, and now we have an old man fighting Michael Bisping at 5:00 in the morning in England at UFC 205.
Gets no better than that, does it?
No, it doesn't get better than
their mate.
Yeah, that's official now, and we'll get into Dan Henderson's be-all, end-all title shot.
Let me ask you this, though, because he's already said, look, win or lose, this is my last fight.
Yeah.
If he wins, you think it's his last fight?
Yeah, it's his last fight.
So then what do they do? What do we have with the belt then? After all said and done, you have a guy retiring with the belt.
They'd never do it. But bring back a tournament.
A one-night tournament? Or started on like a Fox Sports 1, and then it leads into the final match being on the pay-per-view?
Top 4. They would never do it. I don't think they could ever do it again. I mean, Bellator tried the tournament stuff at one of their Dynamite, quote-unquote, pay-per-view things, and somebody got hurt in the middle of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it's one of those things where I would love to have those tournaments, but it's really with what these guys put their bodies through.
It's really hard.
If the one guy gets a 2-minute knockout and the next guy goes to war for 15 minutes and he's got to come back, it's just there's no way to make it. But then you add that element to it to where, like, look, if I was fresh, I could beat you and maybe set up for a rematch. You know, so I mean, there's things you can work, but again, that's the wrestling side of me coming out to where you can work angles.
Oh, for sure. And we'll talk about UFC 204 in a little bit with Bisping and Henderson and the whole them fighting at North American pay-per-view time and a couple other news items later on in the show. Remember, you can find everything that you're looking for in terms of mixed martial arts, news, rumors, analysis, all at the fullmountmma.com. You can find us online at The Full Mount on Twitter, The Full Mount, Facebook.com/TheFullMountMMA. Sean, you can follow you on Twitter at SS Sports Talk, me at BCoyle11. A couple other things I wanted to talk about here at UFC 201. When we'll get into Robbie Lawler's future, what that could hold. I mean, Nick Diaz Robbie Lawler fight is just waiting to happen, in my opinion, because Diaz needs somebody to fight. He's been off for so long. Karolina Kowalkiewicz beats Rose Namajunas in pretty dominant fashion.
Yeah,
and I think we're looking at an all Polish strawweight championship fight in the future, in Joanna and Karolina. That's pretty exciting because those two have history. Apparently, the last time Kowalkiewicz lost was an amateur, an amateur fight against Joanna, which has got to be really exciting just to have those two fight each other, right, Sean?
I think everybody's excited for this fight except for whoever's going to be doing the announcing.
Oh man, it's like you get extra points when you finish up both of their names.
Oh my goodness!
But see, that's the great thing about like these fighters that don't have as much buzz. Now we all know how to say Joanna Jędrzejczyk's name. We all know how to say Kowalkiewicz's name now because they've made an impact. And now we have these two budding personalities, like everyone within the UFC and mixed martial arts who follows this sport kind of sees Joanna's personality coming out now. And you saw it in the Ultimate Fighter TV show, despite the fact that thing is on its last legs for sure. She's got that personality about her. And Kowalkiewicz, if you watch the UFC embedded videos, she's got a great personality too. And you can kind of start to build this fight, and there's stuff to build around at the strawweight division instead of when you had Joanna and Claudia Gadelha, who just absolutely hated each other. With the exception of that, you were kind of lacking personalities, with the exception of Paige Van Zandt, who is not nearly ready enough to be in the title picture.
Yeah. But isn't that what they use these, the Ultimate Fighters, your Embed, all those to start getting a personality for these that they're trying to, I guess, push a little bit?
Yeah, they're all marketing tools completely. And when used correctly, they can do something like that.
Yeah, which is why I don't think they use, and we'll talk about this later, but I don't think they use the Fight Pass enough the way like WWE Network uses theirs to promote and inside, because that's a free format for them. I mean, they got to do a little bit, but not as much as, you're embedded and things like that. You might as well use that format, but that's something else. But like you said, I mean, you got your Paige Van Zandt, but you're right. There's no, if you look at the women's division as a whole in both now, I mean, who do you have? I mean, as far as personalities now that you're drawn to.
You have to cultivate these new personalities. You're exactly right. Like I always use this example. WWE Network created that Seth Rollins 24 series where, I mean, his character is a bad guy on television, but man, if you didn't come out rooting for that guy after the end of that documentary, something's wrong with you. Like, this is like, you're exactly right with the Fight Pass, and I mean, for a lesser way embedded, you can give a feel to who these people are, and you need to. With Bantamweight, a complete chaos, and we don't know. Like, I mean, the average fan doesn't know a lot about Amanda Nunes, who's the new champion who won the main event of your biggest pay-per-view ever.
Forget challengers. We're talking champions people don't know about. I mean, that's even worse.
That's not good. Like, people know who Holly Holm is because she beat Ronda Rousey. People know who Ronda Rousey is. People know who Misha Tate is. But after that, and people know Joanna a little bit, you got to find ways, like, if you want to put them through the ESPN car wash, do it. Like, put them on these other networks. Go for these other interview opportunities and have them kind of get out there.
Yeah, but I don't think with the car washes that you get their personalities, honestly. I think you get maybe a feeling, but also it can come across as it can go bad for you because you got like 3 or 4 minutes to try to really like, and if you come across as, but again, you can use that as the personality. I guess you see what happens as they do their interview, and you can be like, okay, you're going to be the more of the heelish type character instead of the beloved character. So, I mean, I guess you can do that, but I just think that you need to let these people see what would it hurt to follow, like, to see what Amanda Nunes goes through on a day with Amanda Nunes, just to see what she has to go through to get to where she is now.
You're exactly right. That'd be a perfect way to kind of build up these personalities and build up these talents, and it's all waiting there. They have the platform to do it. It's just a matter of if they can make that happen, and hopefully they can, because you've got some great fighters and some great personalities. What it seems like that you just need to kind of draw them out a little bit more.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question just before we go off this, because I think right now the UFC probably has one of the most talented rosters that they've had.
Yes.
But they have less personalities that you want to watch.
It's interesting because I've watched more and more of these fights as we've gotten more intense in our following of the sport, going back a couple years now. I watch because, like, oh, this guy in the octagon or this girl in the octagon can do what they do or fight the way they fight. But you're right, personality-wise, it is like they're not allowed. They haven't been flourishing as much outside. Like, I watch more for what they can do inside the octagon, what these athletes can do inside rather than out. But there's you can build these people up, and because it's just a matter of getting. I mean, it could be the fighters more themselves have to work on it to reach out to media and do these other things, because sometimes the UFC is like, okay, whatever. I mean, go do it yourself or figure it out, because they are independent contractors, essentially, at a certain point. So we do have all this talent, but you're right. It's just they need to kind of go and talk and do these things and look outside the sport to do it more. I don't see with the way we've talked about it, those are the options that they have. What do you think about that?
No, I mean, I agree with it. It's just the casual. They have lost, I think, the feeling for the casual fan. They've become more of a company for, look, you like MMA, or you don't, and they're not compelling to. As a company, to me, this is the way I feel, is they're not compelling enough to, you got cards on FS1, you got cards on Fox, that's great. But you're not, that's where I think you use some of those platforms. I mean, they had a great package for the UFC 200 that they were playing on these shows, but like last night with the FS1, they were showing the fighters, the build-up, I guess you want to call it, but there was nothing about the fighter that would make me want to. Everything was inside the cage, and it's just, to me, they're not trying to get that casual fan, but you're going to have to get the casual fan because, look, if everything keeps going the way it is right now, after a while, it's going to be so much chaos that you're going to end up losing some of your, I won't say diehard MMA fans because they're going to stay there, but when it starts becoming every pay-per-view, you're either going to have people tune in or you're going to have them tune out.
That's on the broadcast as well for these guys to kind of, I mean, I done to on Goldberg and Rogan and Anik and Stan and these guys, and I think some people do a good job at it, some people don't, of kind of telling the story behind these fighters. Yeah. Because I mean, people always used to talk about it's on, like, in professional wrestling, like, it's on the announcers to kind of make, if they're talking up these guys, then people watching start to believe in these fighters more and believe in these, like, oh, yeah, okay, he's talking about him like this, so I should feel this way. It's on the broadcasters as well to kind of talk about, like, oh, Tyron Woodley, he hasn't fought in 15 months. But if you look at him, his size in the octagon, look at him measured up against Robbie Lawler. He's bigger. He's faster. He can kind of throw that thing. And then, bam, it happens. Your team looks good. Woodley looks good. And the whole product itself looks just a little bit more tighter, a little bit more better. And they do it to a certain extent.
They do it when people are returning, like with Woodley. It was built up to where, this guy hasn't fought in 15 months. That was the buildup. And it's weird because it seems like those fighters, and I understand Woodley was going into a main event, so don't get me wrong, but it seems like those fighters, because you don't have the action of them in the octagon, so they have to make up a different thing, like them training and what they've been going through. You see him, getting stretched out because of all his injuries. You see him, working through the pain. You see all this stuff. So it makes him feel human. Not everybody can step into the ring and get punched in the face or kicked in the face and smile. That's not normal.
It takes a wrong wire to be loose in your head to be able to do this.
Exactly. So not every person can sit there and be like, oh, I could be that guy. That's the thing with pro wrestling, what they figured out. And even in the 80s when you kind of saw, like, your baby faces, say, for example, they made them, you saw them at their home. You saw them arriving to the arena. You saw them like, oh, I could do that. Oh, that's how we are at home. Oh, you felt like you were them. Yeah, you couldn't be 6'5", 295 pounds, but you were doing the same things they were doing, other than, the wrestling part. So you felt a part of that person. I mean, you just don't, in this, it's just like, okay, these guys are guys and gals are subhuman robots and they're fighting for our entertainment. And then I think that gets lost with your casual MMA fans to where, they're not going to spend money to get these pay-per-views. I mean, a casual fan is not going to spend $60 to watch guys beat each other up and gals. I mean, it's not going to happen. It's not, it's not that way. It used to be, pay-per-view for wrestling's coming on. Oh, it's $29.99. Okay, let's get it. Oh, there's a UFC pay-per-view. It's $29. Now you're up to $60, $59.99, and throw HD in and things like this. I mean, you're pricing yourself out of the market, and two, you just don't have the talent on there to make me pay. I mean, look what they had to do to get you to pay $60 for UFC 200. How much did they spend on that card?
Like, this is the thing, and you mentioned it. Like, when you do those little things, when you show somebody arriving to the arena, or you show, like, don't just do it just to do it, which I feel like that happens a lot. You have to make every camera shot, everything in your show, just from a broadcast perspective. And, like, working in television, like, I get this. It has to be meaningful. You don't just do a segment just to do a segment, just to kill time. Like, because then it doesn't work. If you make things meaningful, if you go inside the locker room, if you want to do a pre-fight interview, like, if you have access to that, you can do all of these different things and be creative and show these different things and show the embedded pieces on your broadcast, or show these little extended previews on your broadcast. And sometimes we get tired of, like, they have to fill time if there's like 3 straight knockouts in a row, which we kind of had at 201.
Mm-hmm.
So utilize that time to be like, all right, here, we're going to show this quick 7-minute preview of the fight, and it's Rogan talking about Woodley and Lawler and doing this stuff, because I watch the YouTube videos on the UFC's YouTube page.
Mm-hmm.
They do great stuff.
Oh, the stuff with Rogan when he's sitting there and he's like in the room, like the light just on him, and he's
they
like,
just lock him in a
Tyron
room for
Woodley,
like 10 hours.
Yeah, he's just like, Tyron Woodley's a great, those, and he gets you down to where it's not just fighting, it's like, oh, everything that he's been through, and you see this guy wanting to come back, and just the things, the way he describes it. Those are the ones that, you need to show more, like you're saying, on your free, to me, look, yeah, you're paying, the Fox and FS1, it's, to me, those are free chances to showcase not just the talent in the ring, but to start building up. Hey, you know what? We got this guy coming up. Here's a chance to say, hey, here's an introduction to this guy. Be on the lookout for this guy. Be on the lookout for this guy. They don't have to be top-notch guys. They could be guys you never even heard of. But, hey, their name's planted in your head now. Instead of just being, oh, that's that guy from the prelim card. It's, oh, okay. They make them seem. You got to give these guys and gals, like, that they're more than just fighters to me. And it's just getting difficult, too. I mean, we were talking a little bit off of the air, and about I look, Caceres, I love. I think he's a great personality and things like that. But that's not a guy where, look, if I got something else to do, I'm probably going to DVR and watch it later. I mean, it's just, there's fights where you like guys, you're like, oh, I got to see how this guy's going to be, and there's guys where it's just like, okay, and I understand that's why they do the FS1 and the Fox, and you do have to build these guys up. But I think there's also the chances to do your unknowns. Hey, be on the lookout for this guy. Hey, the guy may fall flat on his face the next fight. But you got to start doing this, because you're going to be in the same boat you're in now, because you have nobody, because everybody you thought was going to be it, or everybody that was on top at a year ago is no longer there.
This goes to the point, you mentioned it last night, UFC Salt Lake City. Yair Rodriguez and Alex Caceres. Rodriguez at UFC 197 was on the Jones card.
Yeah.
And he threw a flying knee that eviscerated Andre Fili. And it was one of the coolest moves that you could see. A GIF of that should be plastered all over the internet for UFC. Like, they should be utilizing, like, oh, check out this GIF, or check out this video. Or, like, I know it's on a pay-per-view card, but try to find a way to, like, utilize that stuff, especially if it's just a guy like a smaller name, instead of cracking down on every single internet Twitter account that tweets out UFC GIFs. Like, I get copyright stuff, but you kind of want that kind of stuff to infiltrate and fill out, because then people would have known more about this main event from last night.
Yeah, but look at what what they were playing during the FS1 card. You got to see that for, I think, like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
they didn't even emphasize it. It kind of was part of the role that they played about, Rodriguez.
And also, you're going through, I mean, you have so many cards in early July, then you have UFC 201, and then now you have the first night of the weekend of the Summer Olympics with swimming, beach volleyball, and you're putting on a card in Salt Lake City with these two guys that are not the biggest names in the world. You have to understand your scheduling. I don't know what the ratings are going to be. They went up against stiff competition last night. The main event didn't go on until 12:50. And that's another thing, too, when it comes to the 10 o'clock start times, which I get. But, man, sometimes you overload these cards and it doesn't really work. They have to kind of nail down the little things to make their broadcast tighter and better, to where you can have this chaotic situation where you don't know who to believe in as a fighter, yet the product is still great and people are still drawn to it. And if that means the pay-per-view aspect and the Fight Pass aspect eventually becoming one, a la WWE Network, which I don't think will happen because they make too much money off the pay-per-view stuff right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they still make the money. Don't get me wrong. When I say, people spend the money for it, but when is it going to get to that point to where it's like, okay,
$60 12 times for 12 months is a lot.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. We got a couple more things to talk about here on the show. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we have to get into UFC 204 and Sean's. You called it way back. I mean, it's been open secret for a while now, but you called it before we was even being talked about. Dan Henderson and Michael Bisping officially announced for all but official, because Bisping said it at UFC 204. Chris Cyborg has got her next UFC fight, and it's kind of, to me, a letdown. Sean, I want to get your take on that. Tony Ferguson and Rafael dos Anjos are fighting in Mexico City in November, and I want to talk about that as well when we come back right here on TFM Live, the official podcast of the Full Mount, MMA.com.
For all your latest news and rumors of the UFC, go to the fullmountmma.com. Now back to the TFM Live podcast. Here's Brian Coyle and Sean Stanley.
All right, we bring it back in. I'm Sean Stanley. Follow me at SS Sports Talk. He's Brian Coyle. Follow him at BCoyle11. Follow the fullmountmma.com at the Full Mount. And Brian, kind of went off on a tangent a little bit there to start the show here, but we're going to try to tighten the reins a little bit and bring it back into the current. I guess we discussed the current state of the UFC, at least from our point of view. And where did you want to go to next? Where are we going to angle this to next?
Well, we can talk about the fact that the UFC and USADA could have gotten the Brock Lesnar test results back quicker because they didn't expedite them. Yeah, apparently.
Did they want to?
That's a question for another day. But before we talk about that, let's hit a couple quick news items here. Chris Cyborg has her next fight in the UFC. And, Sean, it is not against anybody that we know. That's the best way to put it. She's headlining UFC Fight Night Brasilia in September. September 24th in Brasilia, Brazil. The most feared woman in mixed martial arts will main event UFC Fight Night 95. She'll fight at 140 pounds against Lena Landsberg.
I've been waiting for her to make her debut.
Yes. Remember, Cyborg has not lost a fight in 10 years. Never gone to a decision since 2008. And has finished off each opponent she's had in the first round dating back to 2013, including her first UFC fight against Leslie Smith, who decided that the punishment she was receiving did not warrant her that fight getting stopped, even though she was getting annihilated at UFC 198. The only good Brazilian thing that happened, I think, at UFC 198, if memory serves correctly, with the exception of maybe Jacare, but Silva missing out, and then Fabricio Verdum getting knocked out by Cleveland, Stipe Miocic.
Cleveland's own.
So Cyborg headlines there. Also on the card, Renan Barão is fighting Philippe Novaire and Roy Nelson and Bigfoot Silva on that card as well. What do you think about Cyborg's next fight, not like being a squash match again, essentially?
No, I mean, I'm thinking it's Rising all over again, right? Is it New Year's Eve again?
No, it's not New Year's Eve.
No, not New Year's Eve. Okay, all right. I'm just, but then again, how much of this is nobody wants to fight Cyborg?
I think that's all of it.
You have to get somebody that wants to dance, right? And so you're going to get all these people that are like, hey, why not? I mean, look, if I'm at 140, or I want to get to 135, what better way to have a decent showing? I don't know if I would go in there and say I'm going to beat Cyborg, but what if you go in there and, somehow you kind of hold your own for a little bit, ultimately? Doesn't that get you kind of on the radar for the UFC?
See, that is, I mean, it's very opportunistic for these other fighters that are coming and fighting Cyborg, but the problem is
a big gamble,
draws, the draws that they want are all coming off of losses and all don't want to lose again, and especially in a bad way, to somebody like Cyborg.
Yeah.
Miesha Tate probably doesn't want to fight Cyborg because she would lose again. Holly Holm not in a good shape right now. Ronda Rousey. I don't think that fight's ever going to happen. I don't know if Ronda's ever coming back at this point. So Cyborg's in a tricky place. So this is the best way to do it. I mean, make some money in Brazil, headline a card, which is awesome. And then I guess we'll see where it goes from there. Because, I mean, neither of us expect Lena Landsberg to be the giant killer for Chris Cyborg. With the exception of a bad weight cut, I think that's the only thing that can stop Cyborg at this point.
So how long do you think it is before 140 becomes a weight class and Cyborg is awarded a title?
I think if they ever do a featherweight, I think they do flyweight before they do featherweight in the UFC. Because it seems to be a lot of women want the 125-pound division. Because, I mean, you had Valerie Letourneau who tries to cut to 115, and it's brutal. And you have the people jumping up to 135 who just kind of don't fit there. So maybe create a women's flyweight division before you go to a women's featherweight division. I think it's a while. So I think you might get these one-off fights essentially with Cyborg.
So then basically just using her as a,
part-timer?
Sideshow almost?
Yeah, kind of like the way
UFC, fight night 95s, 96s, throw her in Brazil, so you get a good turnout at the arena.
Yeah, she's used as a draw. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I guess. But at what point does it get to where
oversaturation?
That's where you throw her in Brazil. No, I'm thinking like, okay, you throw her in. I don't know. I'm just gonna use it's down here. Say you bring her down here for a fight to headline a fight.
Yeah.
Does it draw the way it would in Brazil if you're fighting the same talent that she's fighting? I'm not saying if you get her against Rousey or whatever, but if you throw her in there with this, like what you're getting right now, and you put her as a UFC fight night, 95 at the BB&T Center here in Sunrise, Florida, you're not going to get the draw you're getting with her in Brazil. So I think they're doing that right, with that end of it, because you're not getting that draw here.
I agree with that. So the Cyborg question is basically in Brazil, and people will always flock to watch. Or if you're going to bring her in a different market, you have to give her an opponent and make this fight more interesting than watching someone get their butts kicked for 2 minutes and then having Cyborg win. Because that's pretty much what we're expecting. I mean, if it goes to, we never want to give anybody a 0% chance. No. To win a fight, because I did that once and didn't work out too good. Yep. It's one of those things where you have to say, hey, do we want to burn Cyborg possibly chance against somebody?
The 0.00001 chance.
Yeah. So we'll see where it goes with Cyborg. I mean, the UFC, and we were talking about it during the break actually. After UFC 202, which obviously we'll cover a lot leading up to it this week and next week on the show and on the website as well, UFC 202, McGregor and Diaz. Then August 27th, you have Damian Maia and Carlos Condit.
Yep.
September 3rd, you have Andrei Arlovski, Josh Barnett. September 10th is UFC 203, Alistair Overeem, Stipe Miocic. September 17th is Dustin Poirier and Michael Johnson. And then September 24th is a Cyborg fight. So you have 6 straight weeks of UFC fights, which is cool, but that's a lot of commitments on Saturday nights for these people, like people trying to watch the fights.
Yeah, no, that. But for me and you, when we listen, you mentioned those names. A couple of them are, even the ones that are not pay-per-views are intriguing to us.
Yeah.
But as we discussed in our first segment, Poirier against Johnson, casual MMA fan.
That's the true reaction. I mean, Uriah Hall's on that card as well against Derek Brunson, but like when you get, Diaz McGregor is going to do huge numbers. We know that. Mm-hmm. Maya Condit, those are 2 older names. Yep. From the UFC's past, and I can't wait for that fight at all.
I can't wait for all these cards. When I'm looking at all these cards, I'm like, all right, this is going to be good. But again, as we talked about, your casual MMA fan that's just like, I need something to watch. And don't forget, there's this little thing called college football and NFL that's going to be starting up too.
Yeah, they have to be very careful because starting in September, you have the biggest competition in just television.
Yeah.
Starting back up, and that's when the UFC, WWE, all these networks adjust their schedule around football.
Oh yeah.
And this is when you start to see the thinner kind of creative lines drawn on these TV shows. If they give up and just kind of let football steamroll them, and then they come back a week later and do something different.
There's a certain reason you get some pay-per-views like within 2 weeks apart, because they look at the schedule to see the weaker matchups.
And then the flex schedule kills everybody.
Oh yeah.
But so yeah, there's a lot of fighting coming up, including a fight that was announced this week. Tony Ferguson, who's got to apparently win 9 straight fights to get a title shot. He's fighting Rafael dos Anjos down in Mexico City on November 5th. What do you think about this matchup? Because Ferguson, I mean, you would have thought at this point has earned a title shot, but I guess not.
No, there's no earning title shots anymore. There's no earning. You just go, disappear for a while, pop back up, and be like, hey, I'm back. Hey, title shot. That's how it works.
Or in Tony Ferguson's case, just keep winning and beating everyone until there's nobody left.
Yeah, I guess, if you want to go that route, but you're taking a toll on your body doing that. You might as well just go away for a little bit. Right?
Yeah, El Key gets Rafael dos Anjos after dos Anjos lost the belt to Eddie Alvarez, who seems not interested in fighting anybody at the moment.
Would you? He finally gets the belt. Let's relish on this for a little bit. Let me enjoy it. Especially when you see what happens with all these champions. As soon as they win the belt, they go fight and they lose it. So hey, soak it in, buddy. Soak it in.
Drink it in, man. This is Ferguson dos Anjos is an awesome matchup.
Yes.
This is what I kind of wanted to see, either Khabib or Tony Ferguson. That was the other one that we were supposed to get in April that just kind of fell apart because of injury. So I like this bit of matchmaking. I guess Khabib is the first title shot for a first title match for Alvarez, maybe. But there's a lot of movement in lightweight as well. The last time we saw Ferguson, he was in trouble against Lando Venata on that Sioux Falls card out of nowhere. But I think that was more of the fact that Lando Venata's really good, rather than Ferguson was surprised by I think he was just surprised by the fact of how good this guy is. He utilized that Darce choke to win in the second round. Again, he's beaten guys like Edson Barbosa, Gleason Tebow. He's won 5 bouts in his 8-fight winning streak by stoppage. So El Kuki, the battle droid, as I like to call him, for all the forward rolls that he does in the octagon, that's an awesome fight. Can't wait for that one. And then, Sean, I just want to give you the floor because it is Facebook official. It is SiriusXM official. It's almost UFC official. Michael Bisping, UFC 204, will fight not Chris Weidman, not Jacare Souza, not Luke Rockhold, or not even Yoel Romero.
No, they don't deserve it.
He will fight the elder statesman, the UFC legend, at the ripe old age of 45 years old. He'll fight Dan Henderson for the UFC middleweight title in Manchester, England. Now, the floor is yours.
Well, no, I was saying, because it's in England, you know what I'm saying? So, again, I go back to this, as we said, with Cyborg. I look at it and I go, are any of these, and again, I think you always want to go, but do you fight a champion in their hometown, or do you make it like I don't want to call it like an exhibition or a sideshow. I don't know what to call it, because Henderson's one punch away from winning a championship. Let's call it what it is. He's an H-bomb away from retiring a UFC champion.
Yeah.
After everything else is said and done, Dan Henderson.
He was getting the crap beat out of him by Hector Lombard until he threw a random elbow that just dropped the dude.
That's... And Bisping's going to be fired up in his hometown. Not his hometown, but in his home country. And does he come out charging and take a punch from Henderson and that's it? And we're sitting here like, And then I guess you get the top two would go for the championship because as we said before, there's going to be no tournament.
We try not to root for results here as quote unquote journalists and analysts. Bisping has to win this fight, please, because Henderson winning the title would be the most ridiculous thing that the UFC has done in a while.
Why would you put yourself in this position?
I mean, money.
Yeah, but how much money? Anybody against Bisping over there is going to get money.
I mean, Henderson, is it like a gift to Henderson at this point? I mean, you don't know. I mean, you want to figure out Weidman and Rockhold at MSG. Is that what you're doing? Jacare's hurt. Man. Romero's coming off a suspension. Is that the way you kind of want to play it?
I don't know. I don't understand. Look, I don't disagree with any of the matchmaking with UFC and or anything, but I just don't understand what you get from this because if Bisping beats Henderson, it's okay. Well, he should have beat the old guy.
Yes.
And Henderson beats Bisping.
Oh man,
it just throws everything off for you.
Oh geez. It's like,
I mean, the only thing that's good coming out of it for the UFC would be it's almost like hitting a reset button because then you can set up and be like, okay, you guys are fighting for the title because apparently Henderson's done after this fight, win or lose. So you kind of can hit a reset button, I guess, and then say, okay, you're number one, you're number two, you guys are going to fight each other. The winner's the champion, and then you'll fight, and then we'll have the number 3 and number 4 fight on the same card. And then they'll be your next opponent. You know, I mean, you can kind of reset that way. But, I mean, why?
Yeah.
Why? There's no, you're going to get a draw with Bisping in England. I don't understand why it has to be Henderson.
It's a fight 7 years in the making, dating back to UFC 100. And Bisping, I mean, maybe he wants to beat Henderson before Hendo goes away. I mean, that's the motivation that I see. And Bisping's been such a great fighter to the UFC. I think this was kind of like, who do you want? And he's like, I want to beat Henderson so I can just kind of shut that door in my career. That's kind of what I see here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah. And then, I mean, the other thing that I was looking at was if you're one of those opponents that want a title shot, which you definitely want a title shot, do you want that shot in England?
Yeah.
Against Bisping? I mean, And
it's weird, too, because that fight, the main event fight, will be going off at like 5 o'clock in the morning local time. Because they changed the event times to supplement the pay-per-view audience in North America, which I find very interesting. Because they think because they wouldn't do that unless they thought this was going to do big numbers. Yeah. And they're relying on Henderson and Bisping. And, I mean, you have Vitor Belfort and Gabriel Mousasi also on that card. So we'll see. I mean, we're gonna watch it.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
it's gonna be fun.
It's one of those fun fights, but when you look at it from a business standpoint, I don't want to see what they're thinking.
Do fun fights make money? We'll find out.
Well, this one will make money in England. I don't know, any
internationally. How will it do?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We know 2 weeks from now, a lot of money's gonna be made. And Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz, because they've literally been all over the place, which is good. That's the way you're supposed to. I've seen Nate Diaz on more television shows that I thought Nate Diaz would never be on in his entire life in the past couple of weeks. So
I think business-wise, he's catching on.
Yes.
He's learning how to play the game. Look, okay, all right, it's not what I want to do, but I'm going to make a lot more money if I do it.
Yes, and he's not just selling wolf tickets, as his brother once famously said. This is like... And we'll talk more about that fight as it gets closer. We'll have full breakdowns of that fight. We've got the great co-main event between Rumble and Glover Teixeira. So there's a whole bunch of cool, like that fight card itself. If you just take a look at it, they've smartly built it up because you have the people that will pay the money to watch Conor McGregor fight. Mm-hmm. Easily.
Yeah. And everybody will pay to watch that fight, I think. Your casual MMA fans, everybody will, because what happened the first fight? And then they built that up.
And who knows if that's going to happen again? Yeah. It's a tease, Sean.
No, it is a tease, but they kind of cemented that tease when they did what happened at UFC 200.
Yeah.
They seem to make it mean more because they pulled that card. They pulled that fight from the card because they couldn't get an agreement. And I think it added even more to that fight because, it added that whole element of, wait, this fight might not happen, and now all of a sudden it's boom, it's going to happen, and then, it's making a mystique about a fight. I mean, that's what sells, whether you like it or not. I mean, look, names are going to sell, but also it's about, look, we don't know what may happen or what might not happen.
And whether or not you think this is the fight to make, and whether you think Conor McGregor is going to win or not. I mean, he predicts a second-round knockout, and I'm saying right now, he better knock him out in the second round, because if that fight goes long, he's toast again. There are some great names on this card for them to kind of build up. And like what we talked about earlier on in the show, you want to build up Cody Garbrandt. He's fighting Takeya Mizugaki on this card. You want to build up Cowboy Cerrone more. He's fighting Ricky Story on the card. These are like sorts of names that you can be like, hey, we have these names that we want to kind of get bigger and to have the casual fan love more. Cowboy Cerrone, definitely a personality people can get behind. Cody Garbrandt, a young, exciting fighter that people can get behind. So you put them in the right spot on this card. It's smart to put them where they are, and then you have more stars. So you utilize the main event draw to supplement your roster with bigger draws. And I think 202 is doing that effectively.
Yeah, and these cards are the ones where you kind of, look, this is where you make that, for Cody Garbrandt, the little piece for him to be like, hey, look, this is Garbrandt. This is what he does. I mean, people know kind of Donald Cerrone, but the guys, they don't know the Garbrandt. Things like that. That's where you put that little piece in there. In the middle of nowhere, throw the little piece in there so people can see who Cody Garbrandt is.
Mm-hmm. And maybe the answer to fixing these kind of pay-per-view times, could you do it at 9 o'clock? Could you start the fights at 9 o'clock maybe once? Because that could be a big
where
deal.
They're coming from.
What?
I think it depends where they're at.
Yeah.
Like when you're in Vegas, that'd be what, a 6 o'clock start?
Well, yeah, it'd be a 6 o'clock start on the West Coast, and they did a 9 o'clock on the East.
Yeah.
And then your main event would be going off at probably like 8:30.
I mean, most of them are Saturdays anyway.
11:30.
So yeah. It's not like it's not that the Strip ever shuts down in Vegas anyways, but you're not trying to do it like at a 6 o'clock at at Madison Square Garden. You're not trying to do that. You're doing it at a place where
I can tell you from experience, the trains don't run to my house in Central Jersey. The people who want to go to the card at MSG and at Barclays, they don't run after 1 o'clock.
Oh.
So you're kind of looking at, the buses do, but the train, if you want to kind of cultivate this East Coast audience that you're going to have now, you want Conor McGregor fighting maybe at 11 o'clock, at 11:30, not at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-mm.
I mean, we always feel the brunt of it on the East Coast. But, if you're having a fighter fight at 8:30, if you have McGregor fighting at 8:30 or 9 o'clock on the West Coast, is that the worst possible thing in the world? No. It's prime time.
Yeah. Look at what happened last night. The Andre Ward fight was last night. The results were in at 11:10.
That's great.
That was the main event.
That's perfect. It's awesome. Yeah. We'd love that.
And meanwhile, that was just the second fight on the FS1 card.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. They have these opportunities to kind of shift gears, because when do the biggest things happen in the NFL? They happen between that 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock hours, when you have the third and fourth quarters for these big games. They don't want the games going on until 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
They want that sweet spot. And the UFC may have to shift its time frame just an hour back. They can finally fall into that sweet spot. Sean, is there anything else you wanted to hit on before we head out?
I did, actually, because something that caught my eye with the FS1 thing, and this is a small thing, but I've watched the Reebok ads, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I watched them over and over because they played them about 6 million times.
Yeah.
But the one thing that caught my eye was that I guess she's current, but the only person I kept seeing was Ronda Rousey, and she's not really fighting right now.
Yeah.
Why don't they use any of the current fighters?
I don't know. I can ask a lot of things about Reebok at the moment, including why the shoes that I bought about a month and a half ago have already ripped up on me just walking to and from my job in New York City. And I'm not saying anything about the quality of the Reebok products, but I am kind of saying things about the quality of the Reebok products, given the fact that the fighters have been complaining about it for a while now. Ask Valerie Letourneau how her Reebok shirt has worked out for her. But that's a great question, John. Why is Ronda Rousey the only notable athlete that you see on those Reebok things?
All you see is Ronda Rousey, Ronda Rousey, Ronda Rousey.
Well, I guess they got to do a new shoot, but that cost a lot of money, according to the UFC. That's why Conor McGregor had to come over to Vegas to do all the UFC 200 promotional stuff, and he didn't want to because it cost a lot of money.
But can't you just use get the fighters when they're doing their pre-fights, things like that, just to throw out a little Reebok plug?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to do a lot of production. I mean, like these commercials look old too. I mean, I'm not saying, this and that, but I just found it, to me, it made a bigger statement that Ronda Rousey was the only UFC fighter in these commercials than the UFC Reebok commercial itself. It just okay, they can't even get somebody to plug Reebok. I mean, even at the end, you don't even hear people say anything about Reebok in their their victory speeches and things when they interview them or anything. What else does Reebok? They're getting nothing. I mean, they're getting the thing, but to me, none of the fighters are standing behind them. So why would the UFC would have to step in and be like, hey, look, you guys got to at least do some kind of plug or something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe now that they finally come up with kits that are not black or white, now Reebok's kind of on the path. They got those red kits.
Yeah.
They got the blue ones. They got the green ones. They got the yellow ones.
Yeah, I think they should make them for each
What else has
fighter.
Reebok got?
I don't know.
Well,
I
but
just
this
think
is the problem.
It just speaks volumes to me.
Yes, it's an issue of, I don't know if Reebok didn't take it seriously. I don't know if the fault is on the UFC's end for jumping into this deal way too quickly and signing a gigantic long-term contract with them, because I think it was like 7 years.
That was crazy.
Meanwhile, the NFL and the NBA sign these 3 or 4 year deals with these apparel companies and get bigger and bigger every time. There was once a point in time, Sean, where Puma was the official sponsor of the NFL. That was a while ago, and then it was Reebok, and now it's been Nike, and Nike's been putting out some of the best products that I've ever seen in the NFL. And I know that because I've been able to snag the old, when stuff goes out of style in the NFL, when they change sponsors, you cannot own those products anymore if you work in the league or do anything like that. You have to get rid of them because you can't wear them on air, sort of like the way Reebok tries to control fight week stuff. But when the NFL does it, it's just assumed. When the UFC does it, Reebok gets blowback because of the way they've treated their fighters and the way that the company has been involved recently. So they have to turn it around. Maybe it starts with, paying fighters more for their appearances and utilizing the sponsorships that you have instead of just someone who hasn't fought and may not fight. Who knows the next time she'll fight? It's a crazy scenario. I really don't get it, and it just goes to speak volumes. Like, they're kind of behind when it comes to this stuff, and you got to re-up your broadcast capabilities, and they have that ability. I know they do. It's just whether they want to put pen to paper and dollars to cents and kind of spend the money on it. All right. I want to thank you guys for listening to a Sunday morning edition of the podcast. This will probably be up by either Sunday night or Monday morning to anybody who's not listening live. You can find us online at thefullmountmma.com, at bcoyle11 for me, at SS Sports Talk for Sean, at The Full Mount on Twitter, facebook.com/thefullmountmma.com. Like us and comment. You'll see all of our stories on our Facebook page as well as the website and on Twitter. Sean, you got anything else that we should promote?
No, that's about it. Just make sure you check us out, thefullmountmma.com.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. For Sean, I'm Brian, and we're out.
The TFM Live Live podcast was brought to you by TheFullMountMMA.com. Check us out on Twitter at The Full Mount.